It's the transfer window, and Chelsea's manager could be sacked. Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I do hope you lot are all doing well today, mate. I really do hope that. Apologies who watched my match review yesterday and saw my camera focus was not working. It decided not to focus in on my face as it didn't like it and look more at the shiny play button. Hopefully I've remedied that and you can look at my beautiful mug a little bit more. Welcome back to the Chelsea news. One big news story I want to talk about today in Frank Lampard, and I also want to have a little chat about Chelsea's new Germans, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, how they're performing this season right now and what we can expect moving forwards. So settle in, get comfortable, pour yourself a drink, sink into your chair. As we get into today's Chelsea news video, consider subscribing to Football Therapy if you're new to the channel. Daily content, of course. If you want to keep up with all the news throughout the transfer window, make sure that bell notifications icon is clicked. And if you want to help me out and believe everything will be okay with Chelsea Football Club, do drop a like on this video. Alright then. Let's get into it. Let's talk about Frank Lampard. So I'm going to be citing some extracts today from The Athletic, from an article from Liam Twomey and Simon Johnson. Chelsea are understandably unhappy with Frank Lampard's recent managerial performances and are considering alternatives. Although Frank Lampard has impressed many last season and indeed the beginning of this season, it's a results-based business, and it's not just the recent negative results, it's the optics of the situation, how Frank Lampard and the team look relatively helpless. They absolutely got dismantled by Manchester City last night, and it has to be said, a rampant vintage Manchester City against the Chelsea side low on confidence, so context is required. But Frank Lampard and Chelsea looked like a helpless prey to Manchester City's predator. Although they were better in the second half and technically won the second half, I say that jovially, Manchester City sort of allowed Chelsea to sort of have the ball a little bit more because they were home and hosed. Now, before I read you a few extracts from this Athletic article, it is important to say that Chelsea as a club, as you know, the powers that be, the board, are really, or certainly were really interested in the idea of going all in on Frank Lampard. Keeping him for a long time, building a dynasty, letting him bring through players from the academy and the new signings, and they'd really made the decision to stop chopping and changing and back the manager. Having said that, Roman Abramovich, Chelsea owner, his resolve will be tested with poor results, especially with high expectations. So I'm going to read you out now some extracts from the Athletic article. I do suggest and urge you all to go check out the Athletic. It's excellent. I read it every day. Here are some extracts. Frank Lampard's job as manager is under serious threat, The Athletic understands. A humbling 4th defeat in 7 matches against the Manchester City side will only intensify the questions about the team's broader direction under the current management team, and sources have told The Athletic that Chelsea have begun to explore alternative plans with a view of replacing Lampard if the current slump continues. If not, sooner. So off the bat, very worrying for coach Frank Lampard. Let's read on. This is a fluid situation, and as such, there is no definitive time frame for when Lampard might be sacked. It's possible that he could see out the rest of the season if results improve, but the history of the Roman Abramovich era tells us that once conversations of this nature begin taking place within the corridors of power at Stamford Bridge, managerial changes tends to be a question of when, rather than if. I mean, yeah, we all know this too well. Once people start talking like this, it doesn't bode well for the guy in the hot seat at Chelsea Football Club. We're going to reflect on this a little bit more, but I do want to read you a tiny bit more from this brilliant article. Chelsea's on-pitch struggles have been compounded by worsening issues off it. Sources have told The Athletic tensions between Lampard and a number of individuals in his squad, particularly those who have found themselves outside his group of trusted regular starters, have been growing for some time, and now factor into the board's assessment of the overall health of the situation at Cobham. So yeah, the Chelsea board are now looking at these problems on the pitch and talking about these players that are angry with Frank Lampard off the pitch, and they're mixing it all together when considering the situation. Now, when I think of players off the pitch that might be feeling like this, I of course immediately think of Marcus Alonso. But Tammy Abraham and Giroud are both playing. Apparently they train well, they're good players. So you think Marcus Alonso, I don't know, go down in the comments and perhaps speculate on the other players that could be unhappy. Right, let's get into this final paragraph that I wanted to read you. Replacing a manager mid-season is never ideal, and it would be logical to view Maurizio Pochettino's decision to take the Paris Saint-Germain job as a positive for Lampard's job security. The Argentine has long been admired at Stamford Bridge and would certainly have been regarded as one of the most attractive candidates, particularly given his free agent status, if the position had become available. Chelsea have always backed their judgment in these situations in the past, however, and will not hesitate to act sooner rather than later this time around if they decide a change is required. There you have it, bang, bang. Frank Lampard is no safer than any other coach. Yes, Chelsea might have had aspirations to have a long-term dynasty, go all in on Super Frank Lampard and keep him for as long as they could, but it is a results-based business, and Chelsea are demand on winning trophies and challenging. The thing is, Klopp got given a lot of rope, a lot of room to do his thing when the results weren't good for the first couple of years, but Liverpool hadn't won a league title in 26 years at that point, so they were willing to basically be chill and give him a lot of room, and that's obviously paid dividends. Chelsea, won a league title 3 years ago, so they're probably thinking, no, we want to keep our foot on the gas, but how long can you do that? Well, if you bring in a new coach, it doesn't work, you dissolve into obscurity, and then potentially regret not keeping a coach to stay for a long period who knows the players well, who has good ideas. Personally, I'm going to reserve my opinion on Frank Lampard for the moment, while I'd have some sort of reflection. Anyway, let's move on and talk about Chelsea's German signings. First off, I want a few words on Kai Havertz, because he's looked good the last 4 appearances off the bench. That's right, 1, 2, 3, 4 last appearances have been off the bench, and it's kind of suited him. This is what I wanted to see with Timo Werner a lot earlier, resting him and bringing him off the bench. Not that I wasn't excited to see that front three start against Manchester City, like most Chelsea fans were. But when it comes to Kai Havertz, he's looking a little bit like a bright spark in the final third, much like Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi. He's trying things, he's trying obscure little passes that perhaps other forwards aren't thinking about, and he looks pretty silky because he is an absolute, of course, world-class talent. One concern is he does still get bodied off the ball a lot, and that's something he'll have to sort of settle into, acclimatise to in the Premier League. But in terms of playing, his confidence doesn't seem that shot like Timo Werner. He looks like he's ready to go and express himself, which I'm very pleased to see. And suddenly, my concerns for the Germans have switched over. I was more concerned about Kai Havertz, and now I'm probably more concerned about Timo Werner. So as my confidence grows about Kai Havertz, let's talk about my diminishing confidence with Timo Werner. Timo trying to take a corner late yesterday against Manchester City, only to kick the corner flag and embarrass himself in front of a camera, really personifies his situation at Chelsea at the moment. Even Chelsea's consolation goal, he needs to be getting on to that cross from Kai Havertz. That was probably destined for him originally, but he doesn't get there, and it trickles all the way to Callum Hudson-Odoi, a petite, tricky winger who's, perhaps this isn't what his game's about, busting a gut to get into the box, comes in and scores a goal at the far post. When Callum Hudson-Odoi is beating you to that, it shows you the attitude and confidence of one youngster and one of Timo Werner, who's absolutely got nothing. He should be getting there. He needs to be taken out of the firing line. This is the worst run in his, I think, senior career, or best part of his senior career. Well over 4 years, apparently. It's dismal, and it's not like this guy's a bad player, which a lot of content creators, broadcasters and pundits are saying. He's proven he can be very good for Chelsea. He looked lightning when he started, making the runs with confidence, running the channels, scoring the goals. Look at Timo Werner's goals for Chelsea. They are good. The brace he scored against Southampton when he was on a hat-trick, I think he got 2 goals and an assist that day. Look at the 2 goals he scored. He's juggling it over the players and lobbing the keeper. Excellent goals, executed with confidence. This is the player Chelsea bought, but somewhere along the way his confidence got shot. And now, personally, I don't know what to do, because he's such an elite level player in terms of what he has been these recent years. Do you bench a player like that to try and build him up from the ground, or do you just keep playing him? It's very, very difficult, and I'm not so sure, so I'd be really keen to get people's thoughts and opinions on that. But certainly, when it comes to Timo Werner at the moment, I am very, very concerned. And fortunately for Chelsea Football Club, they have two strikers in Olivier Giroud and Tammy Abraham who are in form and who are scoring goals. Granted, they might not be in the player profile of Timo Werner, which might be the main desired effects for Chelsea, but at the end of the day, if you've got strikers that are scoring goals, you start them. Chelsea's form front three at the moment is probably Pulisic, Giroud and Callum Hudson-Odoi. So you're dropping Werner and Ziyech, two new big money signings, and we thought Ziyech was the saviour. Well, I certainly did. He looked awful against City. I mean, I'm going to give him a little bit of slack because he's only just come back in and that City performance was incredible. But things are concerning at the moment. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything I've spoken about today, so get down into the comment section below and express yourself. Please do drop a like if you've enjoyed today's content, it really does mean a lot. Consider subscribing to Football Therapy if you're new to the experience. Enjoy the football, and I will see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.